Welcome YouTube to Narrative Crusade's Grumbly Dwarf episode. Today's topic, why we're disappointed in the app and the wider issue that this reveals. It's a discussion about the app, why it's absolute quality and why we're a little bit let down by it. We're reaching out to offer some potential solutions to the problems revealed and also to ask the community for their thoughts and potential solutions. First up, the app. The app is absolute quality. It is quick, it is robust, it's easy to use. Yeah, sure, it takes a little bit of getting used to, but all of the information is there. It's at your fingertips. The updates have been really quick on the day of release for the last battle slate. Everything was up to date. It's easy to build lists. It's good for theory bashing. I've been really impressed by it. In a wider sense, I actually thought it was a really good community move by Games Workshop. It lets you look at other armies. It let you think about what people might field. It let you look at the rules. And in a way, it let you plan your future purchases. So really, I thought it was an absolutely fantastic salesman for Games Workshop. Even people who weren't necessarily into the hobby could at least look at the app, see the rules and think about, well, maybe they would like to. It promotes discussion. It was easy to copy and paste entire armies into Discord, into chat areas, into group areas, to be able to print, to be able to discuss, and to be able to talk about. I was literally about to purchase it. I'm actually quite grateful I didn't. The reason for this is access has gone. Now, I can't easily establish if this is because I'm not subscribed. I'm currently working that out. Maybe I'm completely wrong. Please correct me. But if I was a Warhammer Plus subscriber, I would still need to buy every single codex. And this is really bad for a host of reasons. Firstly, mostly importantly, it's bad for the integrity of game. There are close to 30 codex books now at £30, 30 codexes, £20, give or take. It's going to be £600 per edition to access. You should, in my opinion, be able to turn up at your local community table and be able to know the army rules of your opponent, or at least be able to have a look at them. It hurts community discussion. A community member posted in our Discord, there were a newer player asking about the game. I didn't know the answer. It was an army I wasn't too aware of and not too familiar with. It's one I don't collect. We looked it up, we talked through it, and with them, it's not like it's a £5 purchase. It's £150 to £500 investment. I'd like to be able to give them the best advice I can, and I'd like to be able to talk through things with them from a standpoint of knowledge and not from a standpoint of, I'm sorry, you're going to have to go and buy a codex before you really know what to do. Likewise, it's bad for the quality of the game. If you know your opponent's rules, you know how to play the game, leading to really good high-quality matches. Gotcha moments are the only really sucky moments in a game. Bad dice roll happen, it's upsetting, but that kind of goes both ways. If you literally don't know the enemy rules, that reduces the likelihood of a good game. I really like the puzzle aspect of 40k, the problems, the solving, the solutions, thinking through how different mechanics are going to interact and unit abilities. It's great when someone does something really clever, with their units, with their rules, with the mechanics that those rules have. Obviously, it's better when I do it, but it's also, to be honest, quite enjoyable watching someone else do it. But if you're blindly playing a game, or your opponent just clearly doesn't know what's going on, or equally, I don't know what's going on, then that's just not great. And I would argue that's true even at a tournament level. So what can we do? Well, what we're going to do is we're going to collate information as quickly as we can, and we're going to make them into quick reference videos. We've done 2 already, we're going to do the rest. Now that's going to be on faction data sheets and detachments. We're going to put the strats, enhancements, and a general overview of the tricks they have. We're going to try and condense those into 3-minute videos. So they're good to watch when you're going to play your mate 3 minutes before, or if you're on your way to a tournament and maybe you're going to face 5 factions quite regularly, you can watch those. From that, you can also consider if you actually want to collect an army. Then what you can do is you can go on and do more in-depth research, or at least play a relatively informed game against your opponent. We're actually looking now to find out more about different ways and different apps that are available out there in the community at the moment. I don't really want to go back to Battlescribe. I love the app, but I believe the developer has been quite poor with his attitude to maintaining the app and milking the goodwill of others. Don't believe me on that? Google it, look it up for yourselves. Don't take my word for it. I'm not an expert. It's just what I've seen out there. So I'm looking for other apps. There's a list here. I'm going to be doing some research on them. Pop some comments in. Let me know which ones are worth looking at. Let me know which ones you think are the best, and then we'll move over to those. Sadly, this really is just a bad example of business communication. I could say there was some attempts to make it clear that it wasn't free, but they've been ineffective at best at really explaining what that actually means, or the timeline of when it would happen. This is what creates a real feel-bad feeling in people. It's why trailers can be bad. It leads to expectations. It creates an image in your head of what's going to happen, and then when you don't get that, you feel quite bad. As an old sales adage, under-promise, over-deliver. Simple. Do more than you say you're going to do. It leaves people feeling very satisfied. Equally, if you're going to change something, tell people well in advance of what's happening. Now, it has been clear that the app was only going to be temporarily free, but what wasn't clear was what that actually meant. We've all been to work, we've all been told X is happening today. No notice, no information, big turmoil. If people know change is coming, it really does lessen the impact of that. They're not necessarily happy with it, but they are aware, and the size of the feel bad factor is decreased. Primaris and Firstborn are a really good example of that. Even when they've changed direction on what's happening about, I think it's quite clear now that they've changed their ethos and their direction of what they thought they were going to do with Primaris. A lot of people are still quite understandably upset. Fair enough. I think we can put this into two areas. I'm upset because I can't use my 10-year-old stuff. People are always going to feel that, and that's fair enough. Attempting to have a balanced opinion on this for a minute and offer a counterpoint, and that says, well, you don't often expect to buy something and it work for 10, 15, 20 years. Football shirts, computer games, software applications, your phone, support from a business for a product does end. There are examples where maybe I'm wrong, but broad strokes here, a 10, 15-year-old product that's not being supported anymore, that a business decides they're not going to support anymore, is not too far over the line. And to be fair, you can still use these models with your mates, at your local store and gaming group. If it's anything like ours, we just want to play games, we don't really care. So that's the first line of thought. What's the second line of thought? The second line of thought is, I just bought this and now I can't use this. No time frame on this, maybe a year or two. This absolutely shouldn't happen. Not today. This could have easily been solved probably 2 years ago. Point in case, I've got a Salamander's army, I'm not buying Terminators. Why not? Because I looked at the product range when I made the army 2 years ago and I thought everything else has been redone. Terminators look to me like they're going to get redone. I'm not going to buy them. If I had, I'd be really upset because there's new models available. However, not having a clear line from Games Workshop that says, we will stop supporting this, is just not good. They could have managed that over 6 months, probably going back up to 2 years ago, to say this is the rough timeline. Right? When 10th came out, they could have said, right, in 6 months when 10 comes out, these are the models that we're no longer going to be supporting. And then in 6 months later, 10th arrives, you get your index cards, the old models have gone to Legends. What I think makes it worse is that they probably don't even want to be running the prints themselves. They've got a limited production capacity. They're quite often not able to actually meet demand of new products. They have limited space and they want to shift over to newer prints. Realistically, a small range means less downtime for their machines. So for them economically, it probably makes sense to actually have a smaller range and manage these changes. Back to rules. Games Workshop announced the free index cards and core electronic rules. Really positive reception from everyone I've talked to, people online, very kind of forward thinking in terms of how society tends to act and move nowadays. But I'm afraid it kind of stops there and it seems like it was just a sensible business decision so people could actually use their armies and not a translation to an open and effective rule set. Ultimately, the sad conclusion is Games Workshop is still creating a lot of unnecessary knee-jerk negativity. The attitude towards the communicating effectively and managing expectations is probably about 5 or 10 years behind where it could be, especially at an upper management level where these directions must come from. Communication is too often left to us, the consumer, to interpret. Hype is brilliant. Hype is absolutely fair. Teasing models is great. Teasing things that are going to come out in the future is exciting. Even not saying when you're going to release stuff and then dropping it at the last minute. That's awesome. That's absolutely fine. But the Warhammer app and the rules side of things, that's just not great for anybody. So overall, love you, Games Workshop. Your game is awesome. 10th is getting there. The models are brilliant. The new sculpts are brilliant. The game is brilliant. Good update with a data slate. Some good progress seen. I'm still going to give you my money. But your communication, openness with rules, is just something that I'm going to give my money to someone else on. Finally, not angry, just disappointed. I thought we'd grown past this.